I went in the restaurant and the waiter came out with, I had ordered mashed potatoes and gravy and steak. And the waiter comes out, the waitress comes out, John, and her thumb is in my mashed potatoes.
Oh, God.
I said, what the hell? I said, are you bringing my dinner out with your thumb is in my mashed potatoes? She goes, well, I have an abscess and I need to keep it moist and warm. I says, why don't you shove it up your ass? She says, I do when I'm in the kitchen.
Hey, how you doing tonight? We're doing a great special podcast. Our podcast, that's right. R, it's obnoxious, uncut, and raw. And this guy next to me is a special guest. He's a special guest because I shot out of his shaft like a clown at a circus.
There we go.
You just, that's my dad. Go ahead and say hi, Dad.
Well, I just can't believe that he was the fastest one.
I made it.
That doesn't say much for the rest of them.
But this is going to be a great time. Hopefully we get a couple episodes with my dad. He is a very experienced business owner, successful business owner. Has raced for many years all over the country and has tons of cool stories to tell. But I think, if you don't mind, I would love to start it off with a story about Grandpa's shop, Reno, Nevada, right? Wizard of Cause, explain a little bit how that name came around. That's cool. And there's one story, because we want to punch your personality right out front, right? You told me a story about rebuilding a carburetor, and it involved a very large hammer.
Yeah.
So, to start at the beginning, tell a little bit about Grandpa.
Well, starting with there in Reno, Nevada, Grandpa had a Texaco gas station. And had a Texaco gas station for several years. And when that thing kind of ran its course, he opened up an individual shop, took a lot of his repair customers from the gas station, and opened up Wizard of Cause, K-A-A-S. I thought it was the stupidest name in the world. Of course, I worked for Grandpa at the time, and I just had a hell of a time answering the phone, Wizard of Cause. So I started saying world famous Wizard of Cause.
Oh my goodness.
Because I just couldn't say Wizard of Cause. I was just hoping one of my old girlfriends didn't call and I had to say Wizard of Cause! That's so stupid!
Like a red bellboy hat on.
Stupid. But anyway, so one of Dad's buddies, his son, came in with a repair on his old Ford, and he had a little 2-barrel auto-like carburetor, and he was trying to get it. He really needed it rebuilt, so Dad asked me to rebuild the carburetor for the young man, and so I cleaned it all up in the carb cleaner and got it all ready to put together. Well, then Dad sent him on an errand to go get some parts or whatnot, and in the meantime, I had another identical carburetor that was under the bench. It was all clean. It was exactly the same. I took that one, but it wasn't any good, and I set it on the bench and took the one that I had finished for this young man, and I put it down under the bench. Well, I got this carburetor on the bench, and the kid comes back from his errands, and my dad's standing there, and another buddy, and I get that carburetor, and I'm, the one that's no good, right? And I'm kind of going, Dad, I just can't get it. This thing's really pissing me off. And Grandpa goes, just take your time, son. Just take your time, right? So I'm trying to get that carburetor, and finally I get pissed off, and I threw that carburetor on the floor, and I arranged to have a sledgehammer right next to the bench. I took that sledgehammer and smashed that carburetor a million pieces. That kid looked at me, I'm telling you, he thought it was like Halloween 13. I mean, he's going, oh my God.
I don't need it.
I've never seen anybody so mad in my life. Smash that thing. And so I picked the carburetor up, what was left of it, off the floor. And Grandpa says to the kid, he goes, well, you're going to need that for a core when you take it back to the parts store to get another one. And then, of course, Rick, we gave in and gave him his carburetor all fixed up, ready to go ahead and put it back on. But, Yeah, that was pretty damn funny. We laughed about that for a few years.
So, I guess Grandpa's gas station was like one of the first or the first gas station in Reno, or the
Well,
first
I wouldn't
Texaco?
say it was the first one, but you know, the first Texaco we had been around a while. It was pretty, you know,
And,
had been there a long damn time.
And Wizard of Oz was because of the movie Wizard of Oz, or no?
Yeah, well, you know, Dad was you know, he was out there. He was out there. A lot of gin and tonic and whatnot, and Dad was just like you. He was just like you out there.
That's
Woo!
I love it.
Woo! And came up with Wizard of Oz. Man, I'm telling you, I hated that name.
How old were you when that carburetor incident?
I must have been about 21.
Oh, I didn't know you worked for Grandpa that long. Like, all growing
Well,
up.
I was in the Army, in the military, from
Thank you.
17
Thank
to
you
20.
for that, by the way.
And then when I got out of the Army, I was doing this and doing that and working at Grandpa's garage. So
Wizard of Oz.
yeah, man, Dad, still think it's stupid.
So that didn't work out for long term, and then you're like, I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yeah.
Was that before or after racing?
Oh, I drove my first race in motorcycles when I was 14. So I raced the whole time. I was racing the whole time.
So Uncle Terry and you built your first car. That was at Grandpa's, or?
At Grandpa's Texaco gas station. It was a 56 Pontiac. And we built that in the old...
Wait a minute. The car was a
56 Pontiac.
Is that
Yeah.
Garrison's number?
No.
What's 56?
Yeah, it is Garrison's number, but that doesn't...
I put that together.
The year of the car was a 56 Pontiac. Now,
but how'd you
I don't
get the
think that
number?
has anything to do with that.
But maybe.
No. Anyway, so we built that first car.
I discovered some new Uncle Terry car. That is it.
Yeah, he probably is. Uncle Terry, don't get, you know. We built this and we welded that roll bar. I'm 14. Uncle Terry's 15.
Oh my goodness.
We were not even old enough to race it ourselves. Grandpa got one of the customers to drive it. I wasn't even old enough to go in the pits. And we built this car and I don't know, raced it.
So how does it work? I mean, was it the same? I mean, you're 14. I mean, obviously back then, 14 is like a 20-year-old nowadays.
Yeah, it seems, yeah.
But how did you go about? Did you obviously you had a passion and a love?
Yeah.
You can't get on your cell phone and Google T-Car Speedway rule book. So I guess you guys were fans of the Speedway?
I can't even remember how we got into the dang thing.
'Cause how do you
I don't know.
begin? How would you start?
I think Grandpa had a mechanic that was racing at the time out there, and we had gone out a couple times and said, "Man, let's build one of those cars.
We could do this."
We could do this." And we built it. Black iron pipe, arc welder.
You're like
We'd have big gaps. We'd have big gaps in the roll bar, and we'd take a bolt and stick it in the gap, and then arc weld that bolt to fill the gap up.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And then we lettered it. I lettered it. I did all the painting because back then there wasn't no vinyls. It was all hand lettered. And we had the dad's customer raced it. I'd sneak under the fence to go in the pits to work on it. Then the year after that, Uncle Terry was old enough to race, so we built him a 58 Thunderbird. We took a 58 Thunderbird, which is worth $1 gazillion now.
Oh, yeah.
And cut the roof off it with a muffler gun.
What's a muffler gun?
You know, a little muffler.
No, I don't.
Yeah, the air muffler.
Sheet metal.
Yeah. Anyways, I cut the roof off, built a roll cage, and Uncle Terry raced the Ford Thunderbird. The Bad Bird was the name we put on the front of it. So Uncle Terry raced that for a little while, and and we had a little bit of fun with that, and
So I guess you cut the roof off
Yeah.
to put the roll cage in it,
Yeah.
and then you just weld it back.
yeah. Then all the time, I started racing motorcycles at 14, so we're doing the race cars, and I'm racing my Suzuki 90 at indoor short track in Reno at the fairgrounds, and I would drive the motorcycle to school, and then on the weekends I'd take the headlight off, take the lights off, put my numbers on it, and then I would race it, and then on Monday I'd put all the lights back in and I'd drive to school. Yep. I was so pumped when I turned 16, got my car license. Now, back when I was 14, you could get ride a motorcycle at 14, but not a car. So I was so stoked when I turned 16 because I get a pickup truck and I didn't have to put the lights back on my motorcycle.
Oh, that's a big thing.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Then I was a real motorcycle racer.
Yeah, I remember growing up, you had a set of leathers from your flat track days that had roses, leather. They were like, I think they were blue. They were blue leather with big
blue and
red.
white.
I can't believe you got rid of those.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened to them.
I would probably
cool.
give anything to get those back.
Yeah.
Like, what was your your bike numbers? Like 856,
363.
363.
Yeah.
And you just have the number plates. I guess all that just kind of.
Yep. I still got one of them.
No way.
Yeah, so that's what it looked like.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah, it looks good. Way old school, square.
Yep.
Yeah, those leathers were.
They spelled my name wrong on the number plate.
How would you spell Krentz wrong? It's
They
easy.
spelled Darrel wrong.
Oh.
That's even worse, right? They can't even spell Darrel.
I don't know. You spell your name very differently than anybody.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, you had your first car. You built your first car, which is absolutely
Well, that was
amazing.
Uncle Terry's car.
Okay.
And then when I was a junior in high school, I built a 1960 Pontiac Catalina. Plum Crazy Purple. I built the whole thing in school.
Plum Crazy Purple. That was the
Yeah.
color, or that's what you named
That
it?
was the color of the car. Like the old Dodges back then. It was Plum Crazy Purple. And built this 60 Pontiac Catalina. I remember, son, that I had made some plates for the headers, and I just took some old tailpipe material, new, I cut up old tailpipe that Grandpa had there in the Texaco station, and I chopped these pieces off, and I welded them on that flange, and the headers just came out about a foot and just shot wherever, shooting out of the cylinder head on that old 60 Pontiac.
Obviously, zero noise.
All right, this is even better. So I'm working on setting up the suspension. It's a total stock car.
What year was this, you think? It's got to be
71. 1971. And so I got the car in the Texaco station. Dad's kind of helping, watching around. Dad knew nothing about racing. Nothing. And I'm heating the springs up to get the thing down, right?
Yeah.
To get the thing.
Which is an art.
We would heat the spring.
It's an art.
So I'm heating the left rear spring. We know left rear was the one we heat the most. And I'm heating the left rear spring, and Grandpa goes, "Wow, you're dropping that thing down so far. Why don't you just take the spring out?" So I took the spring out. I took it out. And man, that thing was low to the ground. But you'd go in the corner and thing and just spin out.
Oh my God! Are you
I
serious?
took the left rear spring completely out.
Oh my God! That's
Yeah, we
hilarious.
learned a lesson there.
Oh, yeah.
Rigid left rear suspension doesn't
After you
handle
took it, did you weld the rear end?
No, I didn't. Well, I
You
chained
just-
it up.
Oh.
No rear
my God.
left rear spring. Because what the hell, you're dropping it down anyway, son? Just take the spring out.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So I think I raced that car twice.
With no spring.
I think maybe without the first time, then I put the spring in the second time, and then I enlisted in the Army. I only raced it twice, and then cousin Dan raced it after I was in the Army,
Yeah, cousin Dan.
and then when I got back from the military, then I built another. I had a '60 Chevrolet in the Jalopy class. And two-door 60 Chevy, little tiny roof post on that thing, and no roll cage. Bench seat, a big bench seat in the front. There was no roll cage. Three
Not
on the
even a
tree.
safety belt. It's just
Well, I had a 3-inch safety belt and a shoulder harness going over the top. And we would race, and there'd be 30 or 40 cars in that class.
Did you qualify or
the
just draw?
I think the first or second time I raced, I won. And then a couple of 3-4 weeks later, I actually, you draw for starting spots.
Yeah.
I drew in the B main, and I finished 4th in the B main and won the A main. Yeah.
No.
So the first time
out there in Carson City.
that wasn't even a full season. I think they started racing I probably was out in June. So, June, July, August, September, the last half of the season, I won 2 races.
So what do you think you learned from Uncle Terry and this car taking the spring out? Obviously the military, makes a man out of you, but you came back. Did you do research and study of how a car works? Why is this car?
Keep in mind, back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the computers. We had to trial and error. Say, try this, try that. Talk to other guys at the track, and just use your
imagination,
use your intelligence or your mechanical ability, if there's such a thing, to think it through. Okay, when it does this, I need to make it do that, and we just gradually, worked on it. That 060 Chevy was fast as hell.
So you got lucky. Like, when I say lucky, good, because obviously you're one hell of a race car driver. It took me forever to win a race. Once you won that first race, you were hooked, and it was so much easier after winning that first race. I mean,
first one's always the hardest.
Oh my
god! But then they come pretty automatic.
Yeah. So you raced the jalopy, and did you just advance through the classes?
Yeah. Then I built a '65 Chevelle. Me and my buddy Monty Martin.
Yeah,
we built twin cars. We parked them right next to each other, 65 Chevelles. The roll cages were identical.
Was this also at Grandpa's?
No, we did that. We did that at Monty's house, as I recall. But we built 2 cars, and we both raced them, and I don't think I won. I didn't win any main events in that car, I don't believe. But I do remember being in the trophy dash, which was the 4 fastest qualifiers. And I remember Tom Miller was in the trophy dash, and he had worked for Grandpa, and I knew him pretty well. He's a super nice guy. And I qualified 3rd. He qualified 4th, started on the pole. I started on the outside, and I said, Tommy, geez, I'm sitting here on the outside of the front row. What do you got to do to get on the pole? He says, you got to go a little slower.
That's funny. So, yeah, the Millers, that was, that's a big part
of it. And their kids are, raced after that, and you probably raced against Robert Miller and them, and them was quite the racing family. So.
Great racing family.
So then we got rid of that car, then I built a Monte Carlo, and we did that one a little bit nicer, and I started traveling.
Is this moving up divisions?
Yeah. Some of the divisions are not a big step. The Monte Carlo wasn't a big step up from the Chevelle, but we went to Las Vegas, raced at Craig Road Speedway, and went to Roseville and raced there. And went, so now we're getting out of town.
Craig Road Speedway, that's not the bull ring.
No, that track's gone now, but that was the predecessor of the bull ring.
Oh, because Craig Road now that's where you buy your house.
Yeah.
That was where the racetrack
was. It was a racetrack. Craig Road's pretty long.
Oh, my goodness.
So, but I raced there, so that's where I got the bug to get out of town and go to these different tracks. And so I raced that thing a year. I remember we used a black pipe, again, to build a roll cage.
Yeah.
The car without the motor weighed 3,000 pounds with no motor in it. So then the year after that, I bought a guy's super stock and a 66 Chevelle super stock.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the track, it had the big fat tires and weight jacks and stuff, right? And so we're at the track and the car's not handling right. And I'm going, okay, well, we just turn these screws and then everything fixes itself. And then we go, wait a minute, which one?
What?
Which way?
You had no idea.
And how much? So we had to learn again.
That is amazing.
With that super stock. And then,
but at least you had communications when you're driving. You could talk to your...
No.
What do you mean?
We'd wave out the window. How you doing? Oh, we have no radios.
So, let me get this straight. You're racing a division now, and now you can quickly adjust everything.
Yeah.
How fast did you go slower?
Yeah. I mean, we probably moved up too soon. But again, you gotta learn.
Does.
You gotta, and you know, they say that good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions.
Yeah.
So every time we would make an adjustment in the wrong direction, that would teach us, oh, we went the wrong way, go the other way to make it better. So all of that was a multi-year learning experience.
So we're adjusting our car, right? And everything's new. Explain in your thought, like, today's car, sitting in that car, and you're sitting in the seat, put yourself back in the seat, and visually explain the difference of yesterday and then what you drive today.
You talking about the race car?
Yeah, actually, just the advancement of, because we're talking about advancement, and you can adjust, and we're going to go back because I want to know what you drove next. But my brain went on, like, you sitting in there looking like a bobblehead, and now you're like taking off in a spaceship.
Yeah, and and that's probably as good a example. Is you're right. We didn't have high back seats. You know, we'd sit in there. I don't even know if it had a window net, and we'd sit in there like, you know, like Huckleberry driving that car. You know, like, shit. We didn't think about stuff. We were just getting after it.
They throw the flag and
Let
you
it
go
in.
until they throw the one to stop.
Yeah, they show that big black and white tablecloth, and you go, everybody pulls off the track. What happened? I don't know. But no, it was, you know, no power steering, and I mean, you just raced. You might not even know if the car's tight or loose. You're just frickin' trying to make it.
Go as fast as you can.
Just go as fast as you can.
So you're starting to travel. I know. I can recall very vividly. Did I say that right? I did. The first time I went out of town was mind blowing. All right. So, but I had support. I had you. I had all your experience, everything you did. I sat in my first seat with all of that.
Yeah.
Even though I was greener than you at 14 and I was 20, like, I sat on top of everything you already did. So your first time going out of town, was it just you didn't know what was really happening, or were you?
Well, certainly you rely on the fact that I raced motorcycles out of town a lot. So you're already accustomed to going to a strange track, different racers you never raced with yet. So you're not too intimidated by that. You kind of know what you're up against. It was always exciting to learn the challenges of a new track. But you know what else was great is meeting new people. You know, every time I've got friends to this day that I met at tracks out of town. You know, so yeah, you might be a little intimidated, but man, not deterred at all. Man, we're ready to go.
What about gear ratios? Like, we could get online or call and get gear ratios.
Well, we would always do. We'd have to. Sometimes we call the track promoter, and they'll tell you, you know, what gears you had to run.
Yeah.
And a lot of the cars back then
more
were
than
quick
one
changes.
gear?
I mean, we'd have to run a Ford 9-inch, you know, but they tell you you could run a 582 or a 620 or whatever. They'd give you something real close.
Yeah.
You know, so.
What was the first track out of town? Like, Carson City's your home track. What was the?
I want to say it was probably Roseville, and we'd go down and run the Rose Classic every spring. So Roseville, but you know, Roseville and Carson tracks were very similar. And then probably Stockton, you know, we kind of squirted up to Stockton.
That was a
and then the first half mile, I remember, was Altamont, which was, you know, Altamont Speedway, where they had the Rolling Stones concert in 1969, where they killed a guy. You know, that was a big deal. Now, this was 1969 when the concert was at Rolling Stones, and the Hells Angels killed a guy, And when we went back, which was still the 70s, wasn't that long after the concert, the windows were still busted out in the scoring tower from the riots.
What?
From the Rolling Stones concert. Yeah, Altamont Speedway.
Holy crap.
Yep.
So I call that speedway the dead squirrel track. I crash hard in the wall. The car's not going anywhere, right? So they limp it wherever they took it. I jump over the wall, and as soon as I go down the berm, there is a dead squirrel right there. I'm like, oh, God. I was just like, when you crash out, you work so hard.
What now? What now?
I looked at that and I'm like, oh, dead squirrel. And
dead squirrel track.
Oh, yeah. I call it dead squirrel ever since.
I won my first trophy dash there.
On the big half mile?
On the half mile, yeah. My first trophy dash ever. I won it at Altamont.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's a scary track. It's dark.
In fact, I've got the picture with me holding that trophy at Altamont. In fact, it's right here.
So just so you know, the racetrack he's referring to is a very big racetrack. It's in California. It's not the beach. It's not the glamour of California, and it's dark. The pits are very hard to manage around. So to travel and to win, you're not only your first ever trophy dash it's when you're sitting there, because especially when I started traveling a lot was a late model, and we had Rays like Dave Sharoni, and his voice, like I'm like, hey, you gotta talk to me. This is scary. We're on the thing. You're all by yourself. You're going very fast. Half mile racetrack. You're hauling ass, and you had nobody to talk to. You're there just randomly, and all that just disappeared, because you're just there to race. You're there to do your job.
Yeah, and the side of the track kind of melts away after a very short period of time.
That track is dark. That's awesome. That is awesome, Pops. I didn't know that. I thought for sure your first trophy dash would be Carson City.
Yeah.
No home track.
Altamont Speedway.
Big track. Still open today, possibly.
I don't know. I know it was opened up, recently. It's still around, so.
So now we're traveling. And that definitely leads on to a lot of traveling. So, you advanced and you raced this car for a couple of years. Was there actually a circuit traveling, or you just chose to? I
want to say I just picked races here and there.
It's like
that were fun.
You remember the movie Six Pack?
Yeah.
And Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
And he looks in the thing and goes, where it pays.
Yeah. It wasn't nothing like that. Nothing like that. No.
What I'm getting at is like you're looking.
It was more like the Wedding Crashers.
All right.
Like you can go to a race. You can go to a racetrack and
fights, sex, and trophies.
And then when you get to North Carolina, bologna sandwiches. Hot diggity dog.
All right. You did not go to North Carolina nowhere near this time. That wasn't even in your imagination. So you're just traveling, like, you're picking, like, I remember when we're trying to make a decision to go to Stockton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're looking at the payout.
Yeah.
Because I can go to Carson or I can go to Stockton. We wanted to go to Stockton. I love Stockton Speedway.
Yeah.
I love that track. And it's like...
We got to talk about the time we went there and you spotted for me at Stockton.
Not one of my greatest moments.
That was great. When you didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, I did. It was horrible.
Hell, we had a great finish there. Yeah.
A little too many of these, and my button stuck open. He heard everything.
So his button sticks on the radio.
This is late models. This is big shit.
Yeah, this is super late.
This is big shit.
And so we're running the race, and his microphone is stuck open, and somehow he didn't know that the microphone was stuck open, but it was stuck open the whole race.
But Rob,
so I'm racing around.
The crew chief was like, like waving at me. I'm like, okay, you hear me?
Yeah.
And then I'm going, and they're like, go like this. I'm like, do you want me to keep talking or not?
So anyway, so he's spotting for me. The button stuck. So I'm racing, 100-lap race or whatever, and here's Junior up in the top going, hey, look at that girl over there. Rob, give me another beer. Hey, how you guys doing? The whole damn race, I'm listening to him. So now, I'm racing along, and he's talking to a mutual friend of ours, Rob Cantrell, and he says, Rob says, hey, Diezel, DJ back then, he's DJ, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm spotting for my dad. He's out there in the number 89 or whatever number. I remember the number.
78, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't even know.
And I'm racing around and I'm setting this guy up. I followed him. I knew that he was going a little bit too high. Let me finish. Anyway, I'm ready to take him on the inside going into turn one. I had the pass all ready to go. I go by the start-finish line, and Junior gets on the radio and goes, take him to the inside, Dad. And I was already there. I had planned it all along. And then Rob, your buddy, goes, well, that was great. I already was making the pass.
No, honestly, you're right. Your butt.
So then the yellow flag comes out. The yellow flag comes out.
That's
and Rob is sitting there, right? And he goes, it's spot for my dad, blah, blah. Hey, well, it's yellow flag. Can I talk to your dad? Remember? Yeah. And Diezel's DJ goes, yeah, here. And so he gives Rob the radios, and Rob goes, hey, Darrel, it's Rob. And Diezel goes, no, you gotta push the button first.
But honestly,
I think we finished fourth. We started
it was
8th or 9th or 7th.
That car was a hunk of shit when we showed up.
Remember what? I'd never even seen it before.
Horrible. So that's a late model division. Like it was pretty badass division. And that pass, by the way, we worked together on that for freaking 20 laps. Kept trying stuff.
Okay. Anyways, it was one of those hey, what was a fun experience? We had a great time, right?
So many.
That's like the time you raced in Salt Lake City in the Legends car. We grew up. I used to have a driving school and I had 5 Legends cars in my stable. And we would, every once in a while, it's a great story.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah. So we're sitting there in Reno, and we wanted to help the dealer there in Salt Lake City, so we're going to grab a couple cars and go race there to help him with the car count.
Yeah.
So we're at the shop, we go, okay, I'm taking this car, and Diezel...
It was like
Diezel
says, a crapshoot. We'd almost play rock, paper, scissors, who gets what
we just jumped in the cars, and we head out to Salt Lake City, and they got this one young hot shoe there that was pretty good, and he was an experienced
Colorado,
racer.
it was like an Indy car.
He came in from Colorado, and... they had a relatively late race yellow. I was third.
Boy,
you were second.
He was fast.
And you and that guy were neck and neck. They had the yellow, and Diesel's behind him, and he's swerving, and he's getting on the gas, and he's
such a jackass.
He's just worrying this guy to death.
Like I'm just pinning
worrying him,
and then locking the brakes out right before, and then zooming to the side.
So they throw the green flag. The guy goes flying in the corner all by himself, spins out.
I win the race.
And then Diezel wins the race. And then how did I get wrecked? Didn't he wreck me somehow?
No, Sean wrecked you, jumped over your car, broke your master cylinder, clean off the firewall.
But that was fun. Diezel won the race.
I won, and I remember getting out of the car, and you came right up to me. Like, two of your cars are destroyed, and the only thing you could do is you came up to me and you're like, I can't believe that you
was so much
badass.
fun.
You were a badass. I can't believe that worked. Because I was like, man, my son's being a jackass. And
yeah, all by himself. No, it never could. Anyways, we could sit here and talk race cars forever.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to do. So you get to car, it's adjusting. And once you're in the seat and they throw that green flag, you make the wrong adjustment. That's it.
Yeah, you're stuck with it. But a good driver, and every race car driver, I'm sure, has to learn to drive to accommodate what the car wants. So if you've got a car that's not quite right, you've got to adjust your driving style to get, you know, as close to 100% out of the car as you can. So if it's got a particular handling characteristic that you don't like, you got to just do it a little different.
And you're definitely a perfectionist at what you learn, and a lot of the things I do with my son are 100% the way you came to me to, you know, this. I remember winning a heat race. It might have been the late models, but I'm coming out of the turn, and I knew I was going to win the race. There was a lap car, and I prematurely stayed low on a straightaway when I could have drifted up and ran that perfect lap, and I won that race, and everybody was all excited, and oh my God, I knew instantly you were so pissed. And you grabbed the bill of my helmet and just gave me an ass chewing.
I mean, I did hold you to pretty high standards.
Oh well, I mean, it's perfection every lap. If you're in the lead, you got to protect your tires. You got to protect the momentum. You know, you got to.
Yeah.
Did you ever learn a life lesson from Tony? Oh, actually, all right. So there is. With that, you know, with racing and being a perfection every lap, there is. All right. So what is one motto the one saying that you would tell any racer? Like.
Well, I mean, it's that one that the one that we always say, to finish first, you first must finish.
You first must.
And you gotta take care of your stuff and pay attention and be there at the end.
Yeah. Can never, and you remember the whole Hollywood thing?
Yeah.
I always thought that was because, like, you never throw in the towel. No matter if you're battling for 8th, you're gonna get 7th. If you're battling for 6th, you're battling every lap. You battle till that. You've told me that.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Yeah.
You don't stop until you see that flag. Who installed that in you?
Well, I mean, I think that applies to everything you do, not just racing, really.
Not for normal people. Who installed that? Who installed I mean...
Hell, I don't know.
Was it the Army?
Is it... Like,
you know, winners never quit and quitters never win. I mean, you gotta be tenacious, and you gotta pay attention, and you know, just keep on keeping on.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't think.
I mean, you know that right now with your Jeep and getting ready for this crazy big race. You know, nobody's gonna do it for you. You gotta do it yourself, and if you slack up, it's not gonna get done. So. You just gotta do your best, and the big thing is if you don't do your best, nobody's gonna be more disappointed than you are in yourself. Say, man, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't do my best. I didn't follow through. I didn't. Now, I mean, a good example when I just raced at Daytona here earlier this year. I was really disappointed with myself. I know I could have done better. I could have prepared a little bit better, and like I said, the biggest critics we have are ourselves.
Right, and it should be.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one that knows what you really felt inside. When all your friends are like, "Oh my God, that was a great try. That was amazing. You almost have it," and that deep inside, I did have it. I am the one who messed that up.
And I still have situations, and I'm sure you do too, in my life and especially my racing career, that I think about all the time that I wish I'd have done different. I just wish I could take it back. Like when I put that left front tire on the apron at California Speedway and set that car on fire. Man, I wish I'd have done that different.
But could
When
you?
I mean, things in Tucson, Arizona, and Bakersfield, I would say, man, if I just done it a little bit different, my life
You're
might
on
be
national
different.
TV. You out-qualify Ron Hornaday. Here comes the camera. Hey, Darrel Krentz, you qualified 4th. You got some fast guys behind you. What's your strategy? He says, I'm just going to try to keep the guys behind me from getting inside me. National TV!
Now we're ad-libbing.
Oh, no, that's
Now we're
100%.
going to ad-lib.
I can find it. I'll find an insert clip here. You know that was funny, though. We laughed. That was great. Wild Wild West, Tucson. So, with all your racing, the beginning of your career, what was the first person in your career that you met that you were just kind of starstruck to either be racing with or gave you advice, like somebody that you're like, oh my God, this is the
Man, that's a tough question, because as I stepped up, I would always set my goals on the next rung of the ladder, and I was always looking up to, different drivers and trying to emulate them, and at T-Car Speedway, it was Jerry Coonsey and C.J. Yonke and those guys. Man, they were awesome guys, and really, who else? Craig Paulson. Always had beautiful cars, and it was very fast and carried himself well. Harold Long was, and he was somebody to look up to. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys. And then, we started traveling a little bit, and then there was, even back in California, Billy Clarkson, who, as I got a little bit better, I could run with him no problem, and Jim Robinson from Oregon, he was super fast, and a lot of those drivers, but boy, they were way up there to me, they really had, they were getting after it. What was kind of interesting, Mike Skinner and me raced quite a bit there at the local track, and then once we got on the touring deal.
When you say local track, you saying like Shasta? Carson.
And then Mike Skinner kind of took off a little bit, and then once he moved back here to North Carolina, got an opportunity to drive a Cup car and has done amazing things.
Yeah.
But even Mike Skinner, kind of trying to emulate him and trying to learn, things that he did.
So we're going to come back, and this is a lot of fun, and we just scratched the surface on a lot of great stories on a very amazing man that I can call my father, which is pretty crazy. And if you have any thoughts on that, leave it in the comments, any questions you have. But we just asked a question. The question we just asked was what famous person in your career, and you just named a bunch of people that inspired you that weren't really famous, and that just shows how amazing of a person you are. That every day when you guys are going through your lives, have a group of people to look up to. There's people in your everyday life that can inspire you to keep on moving up, and in the same breath, you have people that can drag you down, right? Yeah.
You need those people to look up to aspire to become, and
they're
it's always been my whole life. I've always aspired to make that next step of everything that I do.
You have to look for it, though. You have to look for motivation versus getting down. You're gonna get a lot further trying to fix it than dwelling on it.
That's right.
I think. This is our podcast, Obnoxious, Uncut, Raw. This is my father, Darrel Krentz, and I'm very proud that I gotta make a comment.
Hey, this is fun. This is fun stuff, right?
It is.
This is the 2020s and I'm on TV. I'm a star. Yippee! Who'd have thought?
So we're gonna call this. So this is our podcast, and
He doesn't even watch the podcast.
Oh yeah, I do, everyone. But I'm very excited to come back with my father and
The next time, it's going to get crazy. Tune in. The next time, it's over the top. Over the top.
Over the top. So check it out. Me and my pops. It's gonna be great. So yeah, our podcast. Like, share, all that cool shit, and
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Right?
And a Happy New Year. See ya.